Hi guys. Okay, today we are talking about proportions with rates. You need to make sure you have Cornell notes, or you need to set the page up in your spiral to look like Cornell notes. You need to write down everything you see on each slide, and you need to write down everything you see me write down. Your objective today: you will compare ratios to identify proportional relationships and solve for the missing variable. So let's review what a proportion is. A proportion is two equal ratios, like you see below. But how do we know that they're equal? Well, when two ratios are proportional, their cross products are equal. That means if we took the product of 6 and 12, when we cross multiply, and set it equal to the product of 9 and 8, they should be the same if these are in fact proportional. So that means 6 times 12 should equal 9 times 8. Well, 6 times 12 is 72. 9 times 8 is also 72. So these are proportional. Okay, do these ratios form a proportion? Well, let's check. So we need to cross multiply 3 and 40. We need to cross multiply 5 and 35. And then we want to see if those are equal to each other. Well, 3 times 40 is 120. 5 times 35 is 175. Those are not equal to each other. So no, these are not a proportion. But what about 9 over 10 and 36 over 40? Again, we want to cross multiply. So we would have 9 times 40. We want to cross multiply here. That's 10 times 36. We want to see if those are equal to each other. 9 times 40 is 360. 10 times 36 is also 360. Those are equal to each other. So yes, these two ratios do form a proportion. All right. Sometimes you will see the proportion and there will be a piece missing, so you'll see a variable and you'll have to solve to figure out what that value is. So the steps to solve for a missing value: first, we want to cross multiply. Second, we want to set cross products equal to each other. And third, we want to divide both sides by the coefficient. Whenever we talked about proportions with probability, I told you guys cross multiply and divide by whatever's left over. Your step 3, that's the same as dividing by whatever's left over, and you'll see that in a moment. So step 1, we've got to cross multiply. That means x times 6 and 9 times 4. Step 2, we want to set the products equal to each other. 6x equals 4 times 9, which means 6x equals 36. Now I just have an equation. So I'm going to bring my equal sign down. X wants to be alone. It wants to be isolated. So the inverse of multiplying by 6 would be to divide by 6, which is step 3. We're dividing by that coefficient, or, as you've heard me say, dividing by what's left over. So we're left with x here, and 36 divided by 6 is 6. That means this x should be a 6. Alright, sometimes you will have to do that, but you will have to set up the proportion from a word problem. So the steps for a word problem: first, we want to identify the variable. Second, we want to set up the ratio of units. Third, we want to create the proportion. And fourth, we want to solve. So example 3 says, a color called shocking pink is made by mixing red paint with white paint. The ratio of red to white is 2 to 8. How much red paint should be mixed with 16 fluid ounces of white? Alright, first we want to identify the variable. That's just whatever we don't know. So that's whatever the question is asking. It wants to know how much red paint we need. So our variable is the red paint, and I'm just going to use X to represent it, but you can use whatever letter you would like. Next, I want to set up a ratio of units. So I want to go to the problem and figure out what units they're using. So it's talking about red paint and white paint. So I'm going to put R for red on top and W for white on the bottom. Now I want to create the proportion. So how much red paint and white paint do they talk about in the problem? Well, it says here red to white is 2 to 8. So going in order, red first, then white, that means 2 is red, 8 is white. So if 2 is red, it will go on top here. If 8 is white, it will go on the bottom. But we want to know how much red paint we'll need with 16 fluid ounces of white. 16 is talking about white paint, so it's going to go on the bottom. This is what I don't know, so that's my variable. Now I want to solve. So I need to cross multiply and set those products equal to each other. So that means 8x equals 2 times 16. And 2 times 16 is 32, so 8x equals 32. Now I want to divide by the coefficient so that x is isolated. So I divide by 8 on both sides. And 32 divided by 8 is 4. So x equals 4. That means we need 4 fluid ounces of red paint. Alright, example 4. A blueprint of a house is drawn to a scale of 1 inch equals 2 feet. If the actual length of a room is 13.8 feet, how long will it be on the blueprint? So the variable is whatever we're looking for. It wants to know how long this will be on the blueprint. So we want length. And on the blueprint, it's in inches. So we're looking for the length in inches. And again, I'm just going to use the letter x for my variable. Now we want to set up a ratio of units. So our units here, we have inches and we have feet. So I'm going to put inches on top and feet on the bottom. And then 1 inch to 2 feet. Again, inches on top, feet on the bottom. And it wants to know how long the blueprint would be if the actual length is 13.8 feet. So feet on the bottom. So that means this is what's missing. So now that I have my proportion set up, I can solve. So I'm going to cross multiply. And I'm going to set those products equal to each other. So that means 2x equals 1 times 13.8, which we know would just be 13.8. Alright, now I have an equation. X wants to be isolated, so I have to divide by the coefficient, which is 2. So I divide both sides by 2. And I'm going to go ahead and divide that out. 13.8 divided by 2. I have to bring up my decimal. 2 goes into 13 6 times. I get a remainder of 1. Bring down 8. 2 goes into 18 9 times. So x equals 6.9. So the length of the room would be 6.9 inches on the blueprint. Go ahead and pause and work this problem out on your own. Okay, you estimate that you can do 12 math problems in 45 minutes. How long would it take you to do 20 math problems? So our variable is what we're looking for. So we are looking for how long it would take. So we're looking for time. Again, I'm going to use x for my variable. Now we want to set up a ratio of units. So the units in this problem, we have math problems and minutes. So I'm going to put P for problems up top and M for minutes on the bottom. So for the proportion, it says 12 problems in 45 minutes, problems on top, minutes on the bottom. But we want to know the time it would take for 20 math problems. Again, problems on top, and this is what's missing. So now I want to cross multiply, and I want to set those equal to each other. So 12 times x equals 45 times 20. And 12x equals 900. 45 times 20 is 900. Now I want to divide both sides by 12. So over here I'm left with x, and let's go ahead and do 900 divided by 12. 12 goes into 97 times. With the remainder of 6, I bring down 0. 12 goes into 65 times. So x equals 75. So that means it would take 75 minutes to complete 20 math problems. Make sure you bring your notes with you to class tomorrow. Your notes will be for a grade. Make sure you wrote down everything on every slide and come prepared to ask any questions. Have a good evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.